What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the basement. We got a Kickstarter interview for you today. We're joined by Kat Calamia, the creator of Like Father, Like Daughter. Kat, welcome to the show. Salud.
Thanks for having me. Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to chat.
So I had the privilege of looking through the first few issues. We've got Casey. Her father is a superhero. They're kind of estranged at this point. They're not getting along. He left to go and be this big-time superhero, left his family behind, which is kind of like a very unsuperhero-y thing to do. But at the same time, best way to keep your secret identity and not have to worry about your loved ones. So I'm sure that will play a factor. And now Casey, just by happenstance, find out she's got superpowers. And she's not happy about it. Not like any of us would be. If I found out I could take a speeding car to the back and walk away, I'd be thrilled. I don't know what I would do with it, but I could tell you I'd have a better reaction than she would. So tell us some more about this story. First off, how did you come up with it?
Yeah, well, you hit the nail on the head. Casey does not want her powers. Her dad left, and it really is for the very reason that he left. What do you do with these powers? But yeah, the way I came up with it is about 5 years ago. I took a screenwriting class, and it was around the time of the New 52, and I feel like there wasn't a lot of character-driven stories. It was very about world building and all that fun jazz. And I really wanted to tell a family character-driven story and kind of put the superhero genre on its head. So about around that year, I saw the screenplay sitting on my desktop. I've read comics all my life. I was reviewed comics at that time for 5 years. I've been doing it for 10 years now. I was like, I really want to make a comic, and I did. And here we are now, 7 issues later, talking about this book, and so glad of how it's grown and how all these Kickstarters have grown, and this one in particular has grown. So yeah, very happy with the product, and there's a lot of twists and turns in this book as well. In issue 5, spoiler alert, I know you said you didn't read all of it, but spoiler alert for issue 5, we actually find out that Casey's mom works for the KGB. So she was the villain this whole time. She kicked out Jim. She kicked out Invulnerable. She's the very reason that he left. So there's a lot of drama there as we rile up to the end of our arc, where I promise you the book will not be the same after this. It is a lot of twists and turns happen. And there's actually a tier in the Kickstarter where I can tell you the spoiler if you want. For the $150 tier, which is the behind the scenes, I really want the backers to say, what type of behind the scenes do they want? Do they want the script? Do they want the whips, the works in progress of the art, or just like a candid conversation about how to make comics? I'm open to whatever the backer wants on that. And then same thing for the $250 one, which is spoilers for issue 8. Do you want just whips before they come out? Do you want the scripts? Do you want to know the 2 big twists? I really want it to be dictated to the backer. So a lot is coming up for the comic.
Did you see my mouth drop when I found out that Mom was the bad guy this whole time?
Yeah.
I actually stopped at issue 4 because I read him last night just so everything is always fresh in my head, because these days nothing is retained anymore. I don't know what it is. I feel like Dory constantly. But I stopped at issue 5, and now the idea that Mom was potentially like watching over Casey to see if she developed any powers. Does Invulnerable even know that she was a KGB agent? He has no idea either.
Yeah, he didn't. So he found out in issue 6, and he's like, oh man, so you didn't love me? And so the question really is, as we get into this issue and the big next issue is, yeah, do you love your children or do you love your country more? Right. So it's definitely on Jessica's shoulders of what she's going to choose. Will she choose Casey or the KGB? And we get the answer next issue.
And this all plays into why he has no idea how he got his powers in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which I found a really interesting. Casey wanted to know how, where did you get these powers from? How have I inherited them? And what do we do with them? And you don't even know. Like, you walked out of my life, and now the one pertinent question that I have for you, you can't even answer.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and also, it's kind of like a twist on what we usually get with the superhero narrative. It's just like, I think most of the time you would expect Casey asks that question, like, yeah, well, I'm from a distant planet. He was like, yeah, I don't actually know how I got these powers. But yeah, it definitely unravels. And I'll say Casey, issue 7's all about Casey. So she was kind of on the sidelines. In issue 5, Jim gets kidnapped. So a lot happens in issue 5. And then issue 6 is kind of in Jessica's point of view, the mom's point of view. And then, yeah, it's all fully in Casey's point of view. And then maybe the 3 of their points of view in issue 8.
So the mom's code name is Injustice?
So her name's just Jessica. So
okay.
yeah.
I heard you wrong. I'm sorry.
I wish that was it. That'd be kind of cool if her name was Injustice. Maybe
I kind of plays Invulnerable, Injustice.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
One of the other things I really liked was that once Casey kind of figures all of this out, and she's like, I have to get this off my chest. I got to tell somebody. So I'm going to go tell my best friend. And she's like, I'm Invulnerable's daughter. She's like, yeah, I know. Like, I remember your dad. Like, I see this dude on the news. You think I'm stupid? And it made me think of actually the Green Lantern movie. And I know it's like taboo to mention that, but one of the best lines I thought from that movie was kind of a throwaway when when Hal Jordan shows up to Carol Ferris's house, and he's like, hey, and she's like, Hal? He's like, well, how did you recognize me? He's like, I've seen you naked. You think because you cover your cheekbones, I'm not going to recognize you? Like,
yeah, I love that scene. I remember that was like in the trailer too. Yeah, movie's not great, but I liked Carol and Hal in that. But yeah, to that scene, exactly. You know, how much is that gonna? Invulnerable really doesn't even wear a mask.
Nothing.
If you've seen the dude before, you're probably gonna be like, oh, okay.
He's recognized in a park by a bunch of hoodlums that, for whatever stupid reason, think that, yeah, we're gonna go beat this guy. He can run down a speeding car and toss it, but I'm gonna go stab him. That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, the goons are not smart on that part by any means.
So, I mean, needless to say, I obviously had a lot of fun reading through this, and the first thing that I thought of actually was my best friend Tom, who I grew up with, and he got married to my cousin, and now he has an 8-year-old niece. He has an 8-year-old daughter, my niece, I should say. He didn't just pop out with a niece. That doesn't happen. But I really thought, like, you know what? This would be like a cool thing for them to read together. So that was when I went through the Kickstarter rewards, and I'm like, okay, there's always a catch-up one. Like, let me see if I can get and I don't know how much time the kid spends reading on the iPad. She's usually just watching videos and stuff, and hopefully not any of Uncle Pete's videos, that's for sure. But I said, let me find the physical catch-up tier, because I always like to have the book in my hand. I openly admit, like, I definitely will read a digital comic, but sometimes you just want to have it in your hand. And I believe that I found that one at the relatively inexpensive, I think it was like a $40 tier for the full catch-up. And I was like, that's fantastic. I love when Kickstarters are so reasonably priced for things, and just like, yeah, that's going to be the tier. And like, wow, there's so much other cool stuff, and you've got a lot of add-ons too.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. And I try to keep it inexpensive for the most part. I mean, even if you just catch up on a digital tier, it's $25. I did an early bird special where it was $20. I just want people to really read the book. And obviously, like, you have to put profit and budget all in it. And lucky enough, I was able to come up with that number with profit and budget. But yeah, I try to keep everything pretty inexpensive. And if I looked at the Kickstarter, I want to see me like, oh, I would get that, oh, that's affordable enough. And the add-ons, I also try to keep it cheap enough as well. So $5 for They Call Her Dancer, which is my other book. It's about a young girl who's a dancer/assassin. And when she was little, she witnessed her parents being murdered in front of her. Never dealt with that trauma until now. We have 2 issues out for that. It's actually a 4-issue mini. It's been done for a while, but we're pitching it around and we're coloring it now. So it was in black and white because I kind of wanted that manga feel. And we're still going to have the limited edition black and whites, but now we're doing colored. Again, hopefully it'll be picked up somewhere. So we're in talks with the company for that now. So if you just want to get it digitally, it's $3. We try to keep that cheap. And the other add-ons are variant covers from the previous Kickstarter. Just in case you missed it, there's another variant cover from issue 1. We have like 9 of them left, and that's it. So it's kind of more on the rarer side. So I wanted to give that as well. We have an exclusive cover that is only going to be for Kickstarter.
There's always that one super secret cover that comes out with just the Kickstarter backers. Indie creators put so much effort into their work that users really deserve all the support and accolades that you could possibly get. So that's why Pete's Basement has always been a friend to the indie creator. We try to do these Kickstarter interviews as often as possible. So
Well,
hats
thank
off
you
to you for that.
Oh, thank you so much. And the community appreciates that, because that's the way to get the word out. And
This is the way.
yeah, for sure. You gotta, go on Pete's Basement. That's how you get your Kickstarter out there. But it's true. It's, doing interviews, talking to people, and really trying to get the book out there.
Tell us a little bit about the creative team. How did you go about selecting your artist?
So actually, in issue 1, I worked for a publisher, and I've been doing it myself since issue 6, just because we had different views of where we wanted the book to go, and I wanted more creative control with the book. So, so they actually found the artist and the whole creative team at that point. At this point, I have a new letter, new colors from issue 6, and they're actually really good friends of mine. Brant Fowler, who has a Last Ember Kickstarter going on right now. He's the writer for that. He's the letterer for Like Father, Like Daughter. And then his wife, who's doing the coloring for the book. And then Wayne A. Brown is the artist for Like Father, Like Daughter. Love kind of the cartoony nature, but also expressive nature he brings to the book. And yeah, that's kind of the whole team.
It's fun. You mentioned the cartoony aspect of the art, and that was one of the first things that I noticed and I hadn't read the story yet, but I found the art very, open, very brightly colored, very inviting. And then when you actually delve into the story and you look beyond the superhero stuff, but you really understand that this is a kind of a coming of age story about a father and his estranged daughter. And there's definitely a lot of people out there, perhaps not the superpowered aspect, but there are a lot of people who can relate to this in one way, shape, or form.
I have had people relate to the book, which is really cool. It's interesting. When I published this book, I thought I'd get, and not that I don't get teenage girls that read it, but I definitely get a lot of dads who read it and they're like, oh my God, I love this book. I can relate to this. More than the teenage girls. Like, they just enjoy it and they're like, oh, that was a fun book. But they're never like, oh, I could like super, Casey is my favorite, whatever. But the dad's like, oh man, I love Invulnerable. I could really relate to him. So it's interesting to see, like, that wasn't my target. I'm obviously not a dad. I'm not a guy, but that's like who I'm speaking to, it seems like.
Sometimes that target demographic happens completely by accident. And
yeah, you never know.
Yeah. I mean, even still, like, maybe the target audience wouldn't be specifically teenage girls, but maybe even, preteen girls. Like, my niece is 8. And anytime we were growing up, all of our heroes were just a little bit older than us. So it kind of gives you something to almost look forward to, something to aspire to. So yeah, I think Casey would be a nice role model for younger girls, especially, she starts out and you kind of get this image of the typical popular cheerleader in school. And then she turns around and she helps the kid from her bullying jerk of a boyfriend. They make immediate friends with the other. I love that, by the way, not to get ahead of it, but when she tells Steph, hey, I have superpowers, Steph's like, I know exactly who to ask. Let's go to the nerd kid. And this kid's like giving her a test of like, okay, who said with great power comes great responsibility? Where did Superman get his powers from? And he's giving her like the rundown of like comic book history. She's like, I don't need to know this stuff. I need to know how I got my powers.
Which is like classic, comic book readers in our point of view. Like, we want to tell everybody, like, oh, this is what's so awesome. This issue's awesome. This issue's awesome. It's like, no, this is real life. Yeah, exactly, exactly. But yeah, I love Wes. I think he's great. And one thing that's awesome to see, well, all the characters really grow in general. I think Casey, she grows closer to her dad, which is kind of cool, and that she grows within her power and takes on that responsibility and maybe doesn't hate her powers by the point we're at. Wes, though, I think is fun because, yeah, he's the character. He's like, oh my God, like, I know someone who has superpowers. And then we're going to see the story go through, especially after issue 8, where it kind of takes more of a human stance. Like, no, that's my friend who has superpowers. This is like a person and a human being. And he kind of puts, in some regards, the comics to his side. Like, he still loves comics. He still, is very ingrained in that. But he's starting to get closer to Casey as a friend and like realize the kind of bond they have. And then, yeah, Stephanie, we have a really cool arc with in the next book as well, the next arc. It's actually going to be a Stephanie-driven issue. So we're going to play a parallel to that first issue where we're going to explore Stephanie's bisexuality. And there's going to be a moment where, I guess I could spoil this, but Casey kind of has that moment with Stephanie where he's like, well, I knew, you know?
Mhm.
So we're going to have kind of a self-discovery thing with Stephanie. And there's big things that happen in issue 8 with Casey that we have to end up dealing with as well. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun arc.
It sounds like you've got plans for this well beyond issue 8.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be an ongoing book, which is really exciting. So yeah, a lot of plans.
That's fantastic. I wish you a lot of luck with that. I'm very much enjoying it so far. So now the current arc is going to end in issue 8, but this Kickstarter is for issue 7, and then I'm assuming there will be another one down the road a little bit.
Yeah, so we plan on doing it every term pretty much. So every like 3 to 4 months, we're gonna have a Kickstarter. So we have this Kickstarter now. It's already funded, which is great. We still have it to get through stretch goals and all that fun jazz. And then in March, we're planning actually to do a crossover book with one of my really good friends, Phil, who does The Haunting. So we're gonna have a like father like daughter haunting horror zombie ghost crossover. It's all written. We're getting it drawn now, which is super exciting. And then after that, so around hopefully the spring, summertime, issue 8 will have its Kickstarter, and then by the fall we'll have the trade. So that's kind of like the like father like daughter plan right now for and obviously there will be other books and other plans along the way, and hopefully cross your fingers everything goes according to plan. But yeah, there's a lot to come, and a lot more Kickstarters to come.
Awesome. Looking forward to seeing those. So now you've got some really awesome variant covers. Tell us about these. How did you find the artist for them? How did you come up with them?
Thank you. Yeah, I love our variant covers. So we have 3. We have the Invulnerable, he's beaten up cover, because he is beaten up at this point. Jessica, the mom's boyfriend who works for the KGB, has been beating up her ex-husband. You know, things have been happening. So that's actually
Jerry Springer shit right there.
Exactly. We actually, issue 9 is the Jerry Springer episode. But yeah, that's actually drawn by the Suicide Squad movie concept artist, which is super cool. He saw the project and I reached out to him. He's like, oh, you know, I love supporting indie creators. So we were able to work together for that. Then we have the Lofi hip hop cover, which is the anime high school homage kind of meme, because you know, you have Lofi hip hop radio on YouTube. I wanted to do the homage to that. And then our thumb, which is from Paper Cats, which is Jessica, the mom, hiding in the corner as Casey's wearing an Invulnerable costume somehow.
Yeah.
You got to see what happens there. I will say she doesn't wear the Invulnerable costume just yet, but she is very super heroic in this issue. It's very much about her being a hero in issue 7 and finding her own voice within being a hero. So that's why we have that cover. It's beautiful. I love all our variants.
Yeah, they're really so nice and just so well colored. The anime cover was the first one that I laid eyes on. I was like, wow, it's really just kind of a quaint scene of the 3 friends just chilling in, you know, one of their bedrooms. Like, was one of them playing guitar, or did I? Okay,
so
I do have that.
Is the guitarist, yeah. In the trade, we explore that a little. Issue 9, we'll get a lot more of that.
Okay.
And also the Haunting crossover, we'll get a little bit of that as well. So you don't have to wait too much longer to see Stephanie rocking out.
All right, sounds cool. Now, I've never read The Haunting. You have other stuff in your very first tier, the $1 tier. It's like just a general rundown of some of the other books that you have, like, you know, first issues in there.
Yeah.
Who have you teamed up with for that?
Oh my God, so many people. Haunting was actually for the previous campaign, so that's why we didn't have it here. But for those, we have David Paposi, who just had a really great campaign for the Oz.
He had a really great interview with Pete's Basement, I might add.
Yeah, there you go. Again, everyone who has a Kickstarter, go to Pete's Basement for sure, because that is how you have a comic book Kickstarter. So he gave us one. Spencer and Lockie gave us. We have Banjax from Ryland Grant, who also does a lot of Kickstarter stuff. We have Dorfis, who does Spirit's Destiny, who's going to be launching a Kickstarter soon. So we really just want to have all the indie hits. We have Miss Mysticonic High, which is also a really big Kickstarter comic book. So really just for $1, you just get all these awesome indie comics. And then if we reach the $6,000, which hopefully when this is posted, we will be there, we add another 9 books. We also have, as we get more backers, we unlock more indie books as well. We're up to 215 backers. We need to get 250 to unlock another Kickstarter that's live right now, Tart, the whole volume 1. It's a trade you're getting. So if we reach all these goals, which is like 350 backers and then the $6,000 stretch goal, you're getting about like 25 books, maybe more for $1.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, that's crazy. And you definitely will find your new favorite comic within 25 comic books. I promise you. Or else I'll give you your $1 back if you don't find one book you like.
I'm pretty sure it's worth $1. Actually, I just found out about Miskatonic High. I'm a huge Lovecraft fan. And
wow.
The creators over at Miskatonic High have teamed up with DW Can in a Lovecraft PI Miskatonic High crossover that I previously kicked in on. So I'm looking very much forward to that. And part of that Kickstarter that I wanted was the catch-up for it, because I've never read Miskatonic High before, so I was like, let me check this out. This is new to me.
Yeah, Mike is great. He runs that, and he's doing so awesome on Kickstarter. I'm so happy.
And now this might be the very first Kickstarter I've ever seen where, I mean, everybody's familiar with stretch goals. You know, you get to a certain price tier and, hey, here's some more cool stuff. This is the first one I've ever seen with a backer tier that, like, if we get a certain number of backers, here's some more cool stuff. Is that new to Kickstarter, or is you just like the first one I've ever seen do it?
Yeah, I just kind of use my creative juices. So I was like, you know, knowing that I've done Kickstarter for a long time, we've been doing it since issue 1. So we did it through the Short Fuse profile, which is why you only see issue 6 and 7 on my profile. But I've been doing this since issue 1. So I've been doing Kickstarter for a really long time. And there's always that kind of lull in the middle where you're just like, oh man, you know, this is a 30-day campaign. How am I supposed to promote the same thing over and over again? So, you know, you try to have little mini goals. And I thought the backer goal would be a really good mini goal to promote other people's work, not just mine. You know, give an opportunity to promote Tart, to promote, I believe Red Knight is on there, you know, other books, and just like kind of share the community. And I hope I could continue to do that. If people are willing to give their books, I'll be willing to promote them and have people to read them. And it's a really great chance for exposure for those books as well.
Yeah, honestly, it's a really brilliant idea, especially like the team up idea of I'll put your books out there as well. And but you know, because like you said, how many times can you share the same thing over and over again? And you have like the same friend list, the same fan base across your social media. And you know, after a while, somebody's gonna be like, oh, yep, there's the Kickstarter thing again. But by adding new books and new other creators' books, they can share it into their own fan base. They can see it. And it honestly just opens up a myriad of doors to, you know, potential other backers and stuff. And I mean, really, who doesn't have $1 to spare? Somebody's got $1.
Someone's got it.
Digital. There's no shipping. It's $1.
And you get it right after the campaign, too. I should definitely mention that. You're not waiting for these books. They're all done. I have them on my desktop. Literally, when the campaign's over, you'll be getting, like, if we unlock all this, like 25-something books. So you get it right away, too.
Well, the Kickstarter is already successful. You're already funded. So now it's how much icing can you possibly put on this cake? And let's make the whole another 3 or 4 tiers worth of just icing and make it stretch goals.
Oh, exactly. And yeah, that's what I want. I want to get like Father Like Daughter and in all these indie books and into as many hands as possible. And I hope people kind of understand that in the Kickstarter land as well, because I feel like there's like, oh, well, she made her funding, whatever. Right. It really is about the after, you know, it's until that ticker is done, you are working on this Kickstarter, trying to get the book out.
I think this is a fantastic story. I wish you all the best of luck with it. Kat, how can we find you and Like Father Like Daughter on social media?
Yeah, so you can find Like Father Like Daughter on Kickstarter. It's going to be live until December 9th. At Comic Una is probably the best place to find me. You can find me on my YouTube channel there. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter. Twitter's probably where I'm most active.
Guys, kick into this Kickstarter if you can. It's a really great story. It's great art. It's a really wholesome story. I think you'll all really enjoy it. Especially, you know, if you're a dad with a daughter running around, I think this is definitely the book for you. I don't like to typecast the demographic, but I think you're going to like it.
Again, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And hopefully the next Kickstarter come on again.
Absolutely. The door is proverbially always open. Maybe by then this COVID crap will be over and you're from New York. We can actually get you down here in the basement.
That'd be awesome. I'd love that.
Thanks for watching, everybody. You know how to find us on social media. Facebook.com/Pete's Basement, Instagram, Twitter @Pete's Basement. Hit us up. We want to know what you're reading. We want to know what you're kicking in on. Questions@Pete'sBasement.com. Kat, thanks for coming on. Best of luck with the Kickstarter and best of luck with issue 8. You can count on the basement support for both of those.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's been great. Pete's Basement is copyrighted 2020. Ripped Productions. All rights reserved. So go fuck yourself.